Let's begin with the image, the calm surface, the unflinching gaze, the voice that never rises, never breaks. To many, that looks like control, it looks like mastery, it looks even like strength. And that is the first and most dangerous illusion he creates. You are not looking at a pond, placid and shallow. You are looking at the face of a dam. The truth is, emotion is not a choice. It is a biological signal, a reaction to the world. Joy, grief, rage, fear, these are not weaknesses. They are information. They are the body's alarm system, the soul's compass. When you see a man who shows none of these signals, you are not witnessing his absence. You are witnessing a containment protocol. What we mistake for emptiness is, in fact, a state of constant, violent suppression. Every slight, every provocation, every moment that would make another man flinch or smile or weep, it is all taken in, registered, and then, with immense effort, locked away. Think of it this way: in each of us there is a pressure valve. When the heat of injustice builds, we might shout. When the weight of loss descends, we might crumble. It is messy, it is human, it is a release. But his valve has been welded shut. The heat does not dissipate, it accumulates. The weight does not lessen, it compounds. He is not free from emotion, he is its prisoner, acting as both the jailer and the condemned. And a prison that never allows parole is a place where terrible things fester in the dark. This is why the initial fear is misplaced. We don't fear the stillness itself. We fear the titanic force required to create it. A man shouting his anger is expressing a measurable quantity. You can see its boundaries. You can reason with it or flee from it. But a man who absorbs that same anger, internalizes it, and files it away in some silent internal archive, that anger does not vanish. It becomes an asset, a weapon he stores for later. His calm is not peace. It is the concentrated potential energy of every feeling he has ever denied himself. It is the quiet of a coiled spring, waiting for the trigger you cannot see. We are social creatures. We broadcast our state, and we read the broadcasts of others. A furrowed brow tells us to tread carefully. A genuine smile invites us in. This exchange is the foundation of trust, of community, of understanding. He has removed himself from that exchange. In doing so, he has made himself a black box. You pour your own emotion into the void, your threats, your pleas, your bargains, and you get nothing back but that same impenetrable gaze. It is profoundly isolating. It tells you that the rules of human engagement, the rules you have lived by since birth, do not apply here. You are left speaking a language he pointedly refuses to speak back. And this is the core of the danger in this illusion. When you separate the signal of emotion from the act, you sever the moral tether that connects action to consequence. For most, the feeling of empathy, the visceral, emotional pain of another, is what stops the hand. It is the circuit breaker. In him, the circuit is intact, but the breaker has been removed. A decision is not weighed against a heart's protest. It is weighed only on a scale of cold utility. What is most efficient? What is most logical? What serves the design? The human cost becomes a column in a ledger, not a cry in the soul. This is how horrors are committed, not in a rage, but with a steady hand and a clear mind. The absence of visible emotion is the absence of that last human safeguard. So do not be fooled by the surface. Do not mistake his silence for serenity. When you look at him and see nothing, train yourself to see instead the shape of everything he is holding back. The calm is a lie. It is the lie he tells the world, and if he is not careful, it is the lie he begins to tell himself. But physics is undefeated. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be converted or contained or, one day, released. And that is what you must truly fear. Not the man who feels nothing, but the man who has spent a lifetime ensuring that when he finally does, it will reshape everything around him. The most terrifying force in the world is not chaos, but compressed intention. Now, consider the battlefield, not of dirt and smoke, but the one we occupy every day, the boardroom, the negotiation, the quiet war of wills in a city street. In every conflict, information is power. and the greatest source of information we give to one another is our emotion. A flicker of doubt in your eyes gives me your weakness. The tightening of your jaw tells me my words have struck true. The anxious tap of a finger reveals the pressure you're under. You are broadcasting your tactical position in real time on a frequency you cannot shut off. He listens to that frequency. He studies it, but he broadcasts only silence. This gives him an asymmetric advantage so profound it can feel like cheating. You are fighting a shadow while standing in a spotlight. Your anger at his calm, he notes it. Your frustration as your provocations fail to land, he files it away. Your growing anxiety as you realize you cannot read him, cannot predict him, cannot find a purchase on his will. That is the very weapon he is forging from your own raw materials. In any contest of influence, your emotions become levers. When you show them, you hand those levers to your opponent. And he, showing none, offers you nothing to grasp. Think of a negotiation. A good negotiator uses empathy, builds rapport, shares a laugh or a moment of shared frustration to create a bond. These are emotional tools, and they work on emotional beings, but use them on him, and they slide off like rain off armor. Your charm is met with data. Your appeal to shared humanity is met with logic. Your threat, delivered with fire, is met with a cold recitation of consequences you hadn't considered. He is not playing the same game. He has removed the board and is now examining the rules from the outside, finding the cracks in the system that you, bound by your feelings, cannot see. This is the true martial art of the emotionless. He turns your own energy against you. Your rage makes you reckless, and he is positioned to exploit the opening. Your fear makes you hesitant, and he seizes the initiative you just surrendered. Your desire for fairness, for closure, for a satisfying resolution. These are needs, emotional needs, that he simply does not possess. So he can wait. He can stretch the tension until your nerves fray, because your need for an end is a vulnerability. His patience is infinite because it is not patience at all. It is merely the absence of distress. He can hold a position, silent and unmoving, long after your own need for motion, for progress, for emotional relief, forces you to make a mistake. In this, he becomes a mirror, a distorted, hollow mirror that shows you your own weaknesses. He reflects nothing of himself, but in his blankness, you see your own tells amplified. You see your dependency on social cues, your craving for validation, your instinct to fly. A silence with sound, any sound, just to break the unbearable tension of the void. He turns the conflict inward. The battle stops being you against him and becomes you against your own limitations, your own human reflexes. You are fighting your biology while he operates in the sterile space beyond it. This is why he is so devastating in a crisis. When panic spreads, when terror short-circuits reason, he remains a still point in the turning world. The chaos of others does not touch his process. He assesses, calculates, and acts where others can only react. But do not mistake this for heroism. It is a function, not a virtue. The same machinery that allows him to navigate a burning building without fear allows him to execute a ruthless plan without remorse. The tool is neutral. The advantage is absolute. He has immunized himself to the psychological warfare that defines human interaction, and in doing so, he has become its ultimate practitioner. You are left with no target, no strategy, no way to win a game whose only moves are feelings he has chosen to discard. He has disarmed you by refusing to carry a weapon you even recognize, leaving you shadowboxing with your own reflection in his polished, empty shell. The most dangerous opponent is not the one who fights harder, but the one who has rendered your entire fighting style obsolete. Now, we must confront the deepest, most chilling consequence of that blank exterior. It is not merely a tactical advantage or a personal discipline. It is a profound disconnection from the very thing that makes a society possible, shared feeling. The bridge of empathy is built with the raw materials of visible emotion, a wince of shared pain, a smile of shared joy, the softening of eyes and understanding. These are the signals that tell us we are not alone in our experience. They are the silent language of "I feel what you feel." The the glue of humanity. When a man shows no emotion, he is not just silent. He is declaring with every impassive moment that this language is one he does not speak. He has disconnected the wire that runs from observation to sensation. He can see your tears, but the salt of them does not touch his own soul. He can hear your plea, but the vibration of fear in your voice does not resonate within him. This is more than indifference. Indifference is lazy, passive. This is active. It is a sustained, deliberate refusal to participate in the fundamental transaction of human concern. Consider what empathy truly is. It is not intellectual understanding. It is a visceral, almost cellular reaction. You see a hand nearing a flame, and your own nerves twitch in warning. You witness a grievous loss, and a hollow ache forms in your own chest. This is the body's alarm system for the suffering of others. It is our built-in circuit breaker. It is what stops the fist mid-swing, what stays the cruel word on the tongue, what forces the calculation to include a column for human cost. It is the subconscious, emotional veto against causing harm. He has disabled that breaker. This allows for a form of logic so pure it becomes monstrous. Decisions are no longer clouded by the messy, illogical pull of compassion. Outcomes are evaluated on a spreadsheet, where suffering is just a variable, not a cry that must be answered. He can weigh one life against 5, not with a trembling soul, but with the calm precision of a mathematician. He can pursue a necessary objective through a path of collateral damage, because the word collateral has been stripped of its meaning. It is data, not devastation. The screams are decibels. The ruin is geometry. The end, if logically sound, justifies any means, because the means are merely steps in a process devoid of moral weight. This is the true horror of the unfeeling face. It is the face of a man who can walk through a field of human wreckage and see only a problem to be solved, obstacles to be cleared. He is the surgeon who can operate with perfect skill, but without the foundational oath to do no harm. The scalpel cuts just as cleanly, but the intention behind it is untethered from humanity's core commandment. He can inflict pain, not out of hatred, but out of necessity. He can destroy not in a frenzy, but as a matter of cold, efficient fact. And that is a far more dangerous proposition. Rage burns out. Hatred can be satiated, but clinical, emotionless execution can continue forever, sustained only by its own internal logic. We rely on the flicker in another's eyes to tell us we have gone too far. It is our social check, our shared moral compass. In his eyes, there is no flicker, there is only assessment. You could be begging for your life, and he would be analyzing the acoustics of your voice, the strategic value of your continued existence, the logistical problem of the moment. Your humanity is not a factor in the equation. It is the subject of the equation. You are reduced from a thou to an it. This renders him uniquely terrifying because he operates beyond the realm of appeal. You cannot appeal to a man's mercy if he has none. You cannot awaken his conscience if it sleeps in a chamber no feeling can reach. The levers of persuasion that work on every other human being, guilt, pity, the bond of shared frailty, are attached to nothing in him. You are speaking into a void, and the void does not negotiate, it calculates. And so, we must fear him not for what he feels, but for what his lack of feeling allows him to do without ever feeling wrong. He is the living embodiment of a decision with the heart cut out of it. The greatest atrocities are not born from passion, but from its utter absence. This brings us to the heart of the psychological terror he embodies. At its core, fear is the child of uncertainty. We fear the dark, not because of what is there, but because we cannot see what is there. Our minds, desperate for pattern, for narrative, fill the void with every worst-case scenario we can imagine. He is that darkness in human form. He is a walking, breathing question mark. And an unpredictable man is the most dangerous variable in any equation. Consider the ordinary motives that drive people. They are, for the most part, emotional currencies. Greed is a hunger, love is a devotion, revenge is a scorching need for balance. Jealousy is a bitter ache. We understand these drives. We can plot them on a map of the human heart. We can see the angry man coming. We can placate the greedy one. We can reason with the ambitious. Their emotions are a trail of breadcrumbs leading back to their intent. Follow the feeling, and you will find the why. With him there are no breadcrumbs. There is only the sudden, inexplicable act. He moves through the world like a ghost, leaving no psychic residue, no emotional scent. He helps a stranger with the same detached efficiency with which he dismantles a criminal enterprise. He walks away from a fortune or seizes it, and his face tells you nothing of the reason. Is he a guardian or a predator? Is this intervention protection, or is it merely the clearing of an obstacle? You cannot know. You can only wait and watch and feel the ice of uncertainty forming in your gut. This unknowability is a weapon of profound psychological warfare. It forces everyone around him into a state of constant, draining vigilance. You are always waiting for the other shoe to drop, but you have no idea what the shoe looks like, or when, or from which direction it will fall. He could be standing beside you, and you cannot know if you are an ally or an asset to be expended. You cannot trust his loyalty, because loyalty is a feeling, and he trades in something colder. You cannot anticipate his betrayal, because betrayal implies a broken emotional contract, and he never agreed to the contract in the first place. This transforms every interaction into a puzzle with half the pieces missing. You are forced to become a detective of a cold case, sifting through his actions, trying to reverse engineer a motive from effects alone. But you are working without the key piece, the human heart. Was his act of mercy a genuine impulse? Or was it a calculated move to place someone in his debt? Was his retreat a sign of weakness or a strategic repositioning? The silence of his face offers no clues. You are left projecting your own fears, your own hopes, your own messy humanity onto his blank screen. And in doing so, you reveal more of yourself to him than you ever learn of him. This is the ultimate power of the unknown. It turns your own mind against you. You become the author of your own fear, writing the worst possible chapters because he has provided no outline. Your imagination, fueled by anxiety, will always conjure something more terrifying than reality. But the truly chilling thought is this: what if the reality is more terrifying than anything you could imagine? Not because it is more grotesque, but because it is so utterly devoid of the reason your mind is desperate to find. We are storytelling creatures. We need the why. It is how we make sense of chaos, how we assign blame, how we find closure. He denies us that. He offers action without passion, consequence without cause. He is a force of nature wearing a man's shape. And how do you predict the path of a storm? You don't. You only batten down the hatches and hope it passes you by. But a storm has no intent. It simply is. He is a storm with a will, and you cannot tell if you are in its path until it is far too late. He is the riddle you cannot afford to get wrong, and the answer is always written in a language you were never taught. So you wait, forever looking into that placid mask, knowing that the only thing more frightening than a monster you understand is a mystery you never will. All that pressure, all that silent calculation, all the emotion dammed up behind a wall of will. We have spoken of its containment. But physics has a final say in all things. A dam does not hold forever. It holds until the stress exceeds its design, and then it fails. Not with a slow leak, but with a catastrophic world-altering breach. And this is the phase of greatest peril, not the long silence, but the moment it ends. We must understand this. Suppression is not a sustainable state. It is a drawn bowstring. It is a wound stitched shut over an infection. The energy does not vanish. It transmutes, it curdles, it takes on a new and more volatile form. The man who shows no anger is not a man without anger. He is a man whose anger has been folded and compressed, layer upon layer, into something denser, hotter, and infinitely more unstable. It becomes a core of silent white-hot fury, waiting for a trigger so precise it might look like logic to an outside eye. So the fear is not that he will remain still forever. The fear is in the deferral, because a reaction postponed is not a reaction softened. It is a reaction amplified, compounded by time and silence. The insult absorbed yesterday joins the betrayal from last month, which fuels the injustice from years ago. In his inner ledger, the columns are not cleared. They are carried forward with interest. What would have been a momentary flash of rage in another man becomes in him a settled, cold conviction, a grudge forged not in fire but in the absolute zero of emotional vacuum. And when the release comes, it is raw. Rely a wild, flailing loss of control. That would be too human, too understandable. No, the breach is often shockingly precise. It is targeted. It is the culmination of all that compressed intention finally finding its vector. It is the quiet man who, after years of placid compliance, walks into his workplace and executes a plan of such flawless, devastating efficiency that it seems preordained. It is not a snap. It is a detonation. The long, slow burn culminates not in a spark, but in a firestorm that has been meticulously planned in the quiet chambers of a mind, unclouded by passing feelings. This is why his calm is so unnerving. You are not looking at peace. You are looking at the fuse. You just cannot see how much of it has already burned, or what it is connected to. Every slight he endures without comment, every hardship he bears without complaint, every single moment where a normal human being would sigh or shout or weep. These are not victories of his spirit. They are inches of fuse, disappearing into the dark. The longer the silence, the greater the eventual explosion. The more he withholds, the more devastating the expenditure will be. Think of it as a psychological debt. He pays nothing out in the emotional currency of the day-to-day. He lives a life of profound emotional austerity. But debts, especially ones this profound, must be settled. And the payment, when it is finally demanded, will be taken from the world around him in a single, massive, often disproportionate transaction. The man who never raises his voice may one day end a conversation with an act so final it leaves no room for further discussion. He is the embodiment of the old adage, beware the anger of a patient man. But it is more than anger. It is the calculated release of a lifetime of withheld humanity, all focused through the lens of a single, decisive moment. This deferred reaction makes him impossible to manage, to predict, or to diffuse. You cannot apologize for a slight he never acknowledged. You cannot soothe a pain he never displayed. The grievances are locked in a vault to which he alone holds the key, and he is adding to the collection every single day. You are living on top of a fault line you did not create and cannot see, while the pressure builds in the dark. So, when you see that placid face, do not be fooled into a sense of safety. Do not mistake his endurance for endless capacity. You are not witnessing calm. You are witnessing the slow, steady drawing of a bow no one else can see, waiting for the moment when his calculation finally aligns with his compressed need for release, and the arrow is loosed with the silent, pent-up force of 1,000 suppressed sighs. The most violent storm is not the sudden squall, but the hurricane that gathers its strength over the warm, silent ocean for days before it finally makes landfall. Finally, we must turn the lens inward. We have examined the danger he presents, the suppressed storm, the cold logic, the void where empathy should be. Our fear of him is not just about him. It is a stark, uncomfortable mirror held up to the rest of us. He is the exception that proves the rule, and the rule is this: our entire social world, our trust, our peace, is built on a foundation of readable emotion. He exposes the vulnerability of that design. We are, all of us, emotional detectives. From the moment we are infants, we learn to scan the faces of those around us. We look for the crinkle of a genuine smile to know we are safe. We watch for the flash of anger to know we have crossed a line. We seek the sheen of tears to know when to offer comfort. This exchange is our social oxygen. We breathe it in and out, a constant silent conversation of nods, glances, tones, and gestures. It is how we navigate the world without constant conflict. It is our early warning system, our bond, our truce. He has stepped outside of that system, and in doing so, he reveals it for what it is, a fragile consensus, a shared fiction we all agree to believe in. Our trust is not given to logic or to vows alone. It is given to a feeling we get from someone's presence. We say, I trust him, I can see it in his eyes. What are we seeing? We are seeing the reflection of our own emotional language, and it comforts us. But look into his eyes. What you see is the absence of that reflection. It is not a wall, it is an emptiness. And in that emptiness, our own need for connection is laid bare, and it feels terrifyingly naive. Our fear, then, is a form of existential vertigo. He's a black hole in the social fabric, and we feel the gravity of our own dependencies pulling us toward the void. We rely on emotional cues to feel secure, to build alliances, to predict behavior. He demonstrates that all of that can be performance, or worse, simply absent. He proves that the contract of mutual emotional transparency, the contract we all signed at birth without reading the fine print, can be nullified by a single individual's will. It makes you question every calm face you see. Could they be like him? Has the contract been voided elsewhere and I just didn't notice? He challenges our deepest notions of what it means to be human. We equate humanity with feeling, with expressiveness. A cold person is described as inhuman, robotic. He embodies that description, not as an insult but as a functional reality. And so, in his presence, we are forced to ask ourselves, are the emotions we display the core of our being, or are they merely the interface, the user-friendly screen for a consciousness that could, in theory, operate without them? Is he less than human, or is he a version of humanity stripped down to a ruthless, efficient core? The question unsettles because it implies that our own emotional lives, the things we cherish as our essence, might be optional. Luxuries, vulnerabilities. This is his final and perhaps most profound power. He does not just threaten our safety, he threatens our worldview. He forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that our society is a web of managed feelings. Our justice seeks catharsis. Our relationships seek passion. Our stories seek moral emotion. He operates on a plane where none of those currencies have value. In a world that runs on shared sentiment, he is solvent. He dissolves the certainties we cling to. Our instinct is to pathologize him, to call him broken, to place him outside the circle of normal human experience. That is our defense mechanism. It allows us to restore order to our understanding. But what if he is not broken? What if he is simply different, a mutation in the social genome? And in that difference, he shows us the blueprint of our own normalcy and how frighteningly dependent it is on everyone agreeing to play the same emotional game. He is the unreadable text in a world written in a language of feeling. He is the silence that makes us aware of our own noise. We fear him because, in his absolute emotional austerity, he reveals the extravagant, necessary, and vulnerable emotional debts we all carry. He is the proof that our greatest strength, our capacity to feel together, is also our most profound weakness.